Episode 43.
Wow.
I don't actually think that's right, but it's around there. Today, we have the glorious Michelle Fitzgerald from Century 21 in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Let's cue the music somehow. And we have a great show. I'm actually really excited about this. I'm having some media issues, so we're going to deal with some picture sharing type snafus, but it's going to be really good. So we're going to be talking about old houses and what to look for while you're doing it. But first, I wanted to just introduce Michelle. Thank you so much for coming to the show today. She's a wonderful person. She's a top producing realtor now in 2 different states. She's expanding into Iowa and kicking butt already. So thank you so much, Michelle, for coming today on this brisk winter day in Iowa.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about real quick. I'm just going to give the rundown of the format. We're going to talk about how we know each other. We're going to talk about your journey in real estate, why you got involved, where you've been, a summary of what you do, what you specialize in, which sounds like you do a lot of older homes, so you are an expert on all these things. And I will say to the audience that you sent me the most kind of things to share that anybody's ever sent me. So I'm really pumped to show, because it's nice to have visuals with what we're talking about, even though I'm having troubles getting them to load in correctly because StreamYard changed the format of how that works. But we're going to work with it, so bear with us through that.
That just goes to show we are not perfect. We are human too.
That's the beauty of this podcast streamcast, is it's casual. You don't have to be perfect. I mean, it's, and showbiz, as they say, it's just, you got to roll with it.
Make
it look good and just relax. It's cool.
Yep. Kind of like Saturday Night Live. Just
Exactly. Kind of an improv thing. We're just improving the whole time. Okay, so we will start out with how we met. So did we just meet at that open house? Was that the first time?
We did. We've known each other less than it's been like a couple weeks.
I really feel like I've known you forever. That's weird.
I know. Isn't that great? God is so good, because I tell you, he puts people in your life and you're like, yep, I feel like he's one of my soulmates as far as, friends go.
Yes, no, I feel the same way. I mean, it just feels so natural. You're so nice and seriously knowledgeable and pleasant to be around, So
I feel the same way about you.
Well, thank you.
You're just
thank
fun.
You so much. Yeah, I mean, we did lunch. We've just been chit-chatting about stuff, and then you have all this information. A lot of times, even some of my guests have a hard time picking a topic. And then it's like you had one ready to go. You have all this stuff. So really excited about all that.
I love old homes. Oh, love them.
I actually do too. And it's neat how they're, when people say they don't build them like that anymore. They don't build them the way they did anymore. And these 100-plus-year-old homes really are solid. Some of them are. I looked at so many in the last week. And I was just so blown away by how well the foundations especially have held up on some of them. I was just like, geez, man, this is the one we're in contract in is 140 years old, and it's solid. It looks good.
How old is it? 104 or 140?
140.
Wow. Okay. That's definitely, wow.
That's definitely the oldest house that I've ever put a contract together.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I think the oldest I've ever done is 100. Like 104 or something. I mean, so when you
I've seen those. This is like an old farmhouse. It's cool. I love the smell of it. It reminds me of my mom and stepdad's house,
or even your grandma's, just because I don't know. It's not like it's a bad smell. It's just it brings back memories of what home smells like. You know what I mean? Like
nostalgic.
What home? Yeah.
Yeah,
and maybe that's why I like it. I don't know. Maybe that's why. And that just brings back memories of, just so many good memories of grandma and grandpa's house. And,
Yes.
and not that they had a Victorian, but they did have
Right.
an older home.
Right.
And yeah, I don't know if maybe that's why I don't know. Or that I just, maybe in a previous life, I'd lived in one of them. Who knows?
Yeah, same. I don't know. I gravitate toward old stuff. And I mean, I guess there's the history. So it's fascinating. Like you can feel the history and the stories in it. I don't know. And I like older people too. So I love like nursing homes. And like my grandmother ran nursing homes when I was little. And so we grew up in these houses with all these, like she had two just single family homes that were converted into like multi-family homes that had just a ton of old building or rooms in them in Jefferson City. And so I grew up around older people as a young kid, and they were like, I had a million grandmas and grandpas kind of,
Yeah. I totally understand where you're coming from there.
And so like, I'm totally cool with it. And they would die. They were older. And, so like all that, which maybe some people have a hard time dealing with, I've been around it so much that it feels natural. Like I actually almost kind of like it. You know what I mean? Like being with those people in that time of their life when sometimes that could be a lonely time. So I just like
hearing their stories is kind of fun, and what they used to do and how they met, especially if they've been married a long time, how they met and what they used to do for fun, which is way different than what, not way different, but different than what we do now, because they didn't have the social media and the portable phones. So, and the rotary phones, and, just hearing their stories. I think that's why I like to go antiquing too. I love going to thrift shops because there's just so much in there that brings back memories of when I was a kid or when my grandma was older, kind of thing. So, or younger, I mean. So, it's pretty cool.
Love it. Well, we both have an appreciation for history and older people and the old ways of life. Sometimes I wish that I was, born in the Wild Wild West days, or any old days. I feel like sometimes like I could thrive in any time period.
Pretty much. I feel that way too. And then I think, oh, but women weren't treated that well when back in the old days. So I'm like, I don't know, but they had such beautiful gowns and, they just were all decked out, and people used to dress up for stuff, I mean, all kinds of things.
And now you die if you, ate something bad. You would die.
Yeah. Or if you got sick, you died pretty much.
Minus the dying early part. That part sucked, but the rest of it sounds kind of romantic.
Right. We won't think about the negative because that's just the positive.
Well, cool. So awesome on all that. Why don't we talk just a little bit? Run us through, when did you get into real estate? Why did you do it? Why did you think that's a great idea? And then how's that journey looked kind of from when you started till now?
Oh, gosh. Well, I started back in 2012. I mean, that's when I got my license in January of 2012. So it's been 13 years. And at that time, I got my Illinois license.
Time as me, roughly.
Oh, what's that?
About the same time as me, roughly, right in there.
Well, and I started, because you couldn't take tests or anything like that. Well, I shouldn't say you couldn't go somewhere and learn about real estate because the market was down. And at that time I was a Mary Kay sales director, and I was at a networking event and with BNI, if anybody's ever heard of that. Yeah. And I was doing my presentation because I loved to help people find solutions with their makeup and their skincare and all that, and just make them feel good and happy. And so after the presentation, because they had asked me, well, what would you be doing if you weren't doing this? And I said, well, I'd be selling houses. I'd be helping people find a home. And a guy took me aside afterwards, who then became one of my business partners. Chip Hart was Century 21 affiliated in Wisconsin, which I became licensed there too a year later. He's the one that got me started. And I said, well, I've been calling around, just here and there, just to find out if I can take classes somewhere. And he's like, well, right now there's no classes anywhere because the market's not good. There isn't like people don't want to do this right now. Yeah. And so he was able to hook me up with his broker. And they found a class that I could take online, and I had to read a book, and then I could fax in my quizzes.
Oh, wow.
And I faxed them in.
This is where again? This is Wisconsin or where?
So this would have been
Illinois?
Illinois for the Illinois test at the time, but you could then for my Wisconsin, I was able to do a class because by that time, a year later, the market was starting to make its way up again.
Yeah.
2012, the beginning of it, it was very ideal because I was able to go to appointments with my soon-to-be business partners who were showing me the way and showing me how to do appointments the right way the first time.
Yeah. Did they tell you that you weren't allowed to talk when you went on those things?
They didn't say that, but I really didn't say a whole lot other than I might comment on their house, just saying how,
I was told specifically not to talk.
Oh,
all the time.
Nope.
My mentor, like my team lead and my coach guy for that, he often told me to not talk. And then the lady that I shadowed all the time, my good friend and mentor there, she was like adamant, like, do not say anything. Like, just keep your mouth shut. And I'd be like, wow, okay, I'll try.
That'd be hard for me to do. But I didn't comment on the how-to part of it. I listened to that. Like when she went through the contract, when she explained what's going to happen next, I took notes. But if I could comment on something, to, I don't know, just endear myself, I guess, to the seller or the buyer, I would do that. But yeah, she never told me to, but I kind of, didn't talk a lot. But it was more complimenting the seller or the buyer.
Yes.
Or commenting on something. I learned what not to comment on.
Right.
Yes. And, so it was, but I got into doing it there. And then I got my Wisconsin license after that because it was the only way I could join the power team at Century 21 affiliated in Beloit. So we were right on the state line. So it made sense to have your license in both states.
Yeah.
Now I just have my Illinois license and I refer my Wisconsin to my partners because I still have my license in Illinois. So I still refer to those same people as well as to other agents that I built relationships with and I know will take care of different people in different parts of Wisconsin because, every agent has their area that they like to serve. Sure. But, some people liked Lake Geneva. Some people loved going to Madison. Some people loved going to Milwaukee. I didn't want to drive that far, but I have people who do that. And then same with Illinois. I wouldn't go to Chicago, but I would refer to an agent that I know in Chicago. So I'm constantly building my network of agents so that I, so that I have someone to refer to.
You're building your team. Like, they might not be like an official, like what some people would think about a real estate team, but our teams actually are huge. They can be national. Like for me, I have literally people in every city, every state, which I think I've helped you with some of those connections.
You have. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And you know what? It's great because I was, I've just learned to reinvent the wheel when I can find someone that someone already likes. And it's all about networking and trying to make it better for the people you're serving. Correct. Which also just makes you more valuable too.
Yep. That's exactly right. We're problem solvers.
Yeah.
And we have friends that are problem solvers. So we just make a lot of connections. I mean, that's largely what I do for a living is make connections.
And that is what you do. And you do a good job of it.
Oh, thank you.
Very good job. And you do it with a smile. You're not like, oh, got to do this. I have other things to do. You always make someone feel like, okay, I'm going to stop that. And I'm going to do this for you because it makes me feel valuable. And I mean, and you are, and I mean, that's why I like helping people hook up with local businesses too. I love supporting local. So I started a coupon book that I'm putting together for my clients when they close, especially the ones that just moved to the area and don't know where to go. So I'm, haircuts and, places to have a coffee, and then again, they're all local businesses.
So you're doing this now in Cedar Rapids?
I am. Yeah.
That's so smart. I used to do a newsletter that was sort of the same. I would go through places and get them to ask if they wanted to advertise in my newsletter. And then I'd mail it out to 5,000 houses each month. So it was the neighborhood newsletter. I put in stats about real estate, homes for sale, homes, all that kind of stuff. And then business stuff like you're doing. I like yours better though, because it's simpler. You don't have to write a newsletter every month. So that's a great idea.
Well, you know what though? I am doing a newsletter because my daughter is my social media person and she's also, so she puts that together for me and asks me, so we always put stats in there, what the listings are I have, but it would be a good idea to feature, I think we're going to feature Black owned businesses this month in this newsletter. So
That's
women
cool.
owned, black owned, so that's really cool. So we try to kind of go
Uh,
with.
have you heard of there's a bakery and deli place that's super duper good. It's not cupcakes. It's escaping my brain right now.
In Cedar Rapids?
Yeah. Shawnee Cakes? Shawnee Cakes.
Shawnee Cakes?
Look it up.
I will.
As far as I can see, and I haven't even actually eaten it just because I just haven't.
You've been on your.
I've been over there. I just don't even know really where, but I know it's super popular, and it's a black-owned business, so like it would be a cool one for you to connect with. And she's like very well known, so that's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah, no, I will definitely look into that today.
Shawnee Cakes, yeah.
Shawnee Cakes. Okay, cool. So yeah, and then we moved to Iowa last year, and so I'm from Iowa originally, and then we moved to Illinois for my husband's job. Well, now he has a job; he can work from anywhere, and so we moved back to Iowa to be near family, support family, be around one of our kids. The other kids in Washington State, so that's why we're back here. And I'm like, well, I already know the area. So it's just a matter of getting the license, and I got that on my daughter's 29th birthday. I made that a goal in August. And then, just been kind of networking ever since, kind of building my stuff here, but then also supporting my Illinois, Wisconsin people, clients too, because it's important to love on who already knows you.
Yes.
So,
that's so great. I'm so happy that you're doing that because, as you know, I've done that too, is continue to build businesses in other places while you move. And some people will move and then just let that other business go away. And it's like,
why would you do
have
that?
People that you can still love and take care of there and continue to expand and grow. But that's a concept that maybe a lot of real estate agents don't understand either, is that we can, that you can do that. It's called like expansion real estate. So I'm just super happy that you're doing it and cool. And I'd love to talk to you more about, we've talked a little bit about how that can look and even improve or grow and whatever, but I'm just so happy you're doing it.
Yeah, it's on the simplest form that I can think of, but like just house anniversaries and stuff, and just kind of getting people more, just kind of touch point every once in a while that, hey, I'm still in business. And by the way, I'm in Iowa now too, so I'm doing business here, but I try to market myself as, even if I'm not physically there, I can still help you. I still have people to help you. Or if they want to move from Philadelphia to Florida, okay, I know agents that I can connect you with, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel and try to, Google and look at testimonials and things. So it just takes a lot of time to find the right person. So
networking, it's a long-term game, like building your people and your network and your overall national team, or even worldwide.
Yeah. And hey, it's more friends. Who doesn't want more friends?
Yes, right. Once you're my friend, we're friends for life. Like it or not.
I want to be the Norm of real estate. Like when I walk in the door, they don't say Norm, they say Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman.
Some do. I'm training people. Like I had what was it? We had a credit union stop by, Green State Credit Union stop by, dropped off some Valentine's Day cookies to our office. And I was the only one there at the time. I think everybody else was out on appointments and stuff, and I was getting ready to leave. Yeah. And one of the guys walks through the door and he goes, Wonder Woman. I go, hey. And I met him like a few months ago, but it was
we
funny.
need to get you a shirt. Like I need
to get a Wonder Woman Realtor. I am your Wonder Woman Realtor shirt. That's what I need. Yeah,
100%. That would be so cool. A bright one.
I always joke around and say, I work with integrity and speed. I just don't wear the outfit.
Well, you could wear like a realtor version of it.
Right. That's a great idea. And something sparkly that really stands out.
Yes. So like one big part of my team and my organization at EXP is called the Super Agents Collaborative. And they have like a big Superman symbol is their logo.
That's awesome.
It's not exactly the same, but it's like,
it's tweaked. Like
that. Yeah, right. Yeah. It's like real estate tweaked, but yeah, it's cool. And then it's easy to remember, and the colors and all that.
That's right. I even have it on my license plate. It says WWRLTR. And then I have a license plate cover that has the Wonder Woman in silver, the symbol on there. So, if people are trying to find my car, they can find it usually with the Wonder Woman Realtor.
Great branding. Great branding. I used to brand my plates. I was at Keller Williams for a long time. So I have tons. I have so many license plates because we've moved so much. So I have tons of different states, and we also buy and sell a ton of cars. So I have, like, in my regular office, the whole shop is lined with different plates. And there's a whole bunch of them that say Black Owl or KW Mega, because I was a KW Mega agent for a long time.
Oh my God, that's cool.
So there's just tons of them, like from different states and different colors, and they're cool. They're fun.
That is cool. I kept my one from Illinois, my Wonder Woman, because that's the first time I've ever done that. And that was when I was in Illinois. So yeah. And so I'm going to keep doing it.
I love it. Keep doing it. Okay, cool. Well, I guess we could go ahead and get into all the wonderful things about older homes and what that looks like and what should people look out for.
That's right.
Because on an older home, there is just a lot of stuff that maybe some people have never even heard about, especially that could be watching this show, because I have people in all over the country, right? But lots of them in the West Coast that are not even going to be familiar with some of this stuff. But a lot of people, even just locally, might not be familiar with all this stuff, or even like sort of locally that are moving into town, like that maybe somewhere else in the Midwest or the East. So this is going to be fun to go over this stuff. Do you need to open with anything, or do you want to get to pictures right away?
Well, yeah, I think basically, let's go right into basically, I guess, why I love the old homes and why I think a lot of people like them is because they're more budget friendly initially. But you also have to think about, okay, once I buy it, what I need to prioritize, what needs to be done in the house to keep it safe or to get it safe before I start making it pretty, Yeah. And so a lot of people are like, ooh, that's shiny. They got the beautiful large windows, the craftsmanship, just the way that they used to cut wood, the wraparound porches, all that charm, that you look at, whether it's brick or, it's, you've just got a combination of things. It's just unusual. And what I've noticed is a lot of some of the newer homes are now mirroring some of the older homes, but just more updated, version. I've seen a lot of the Joanna Gaines kind of looking houses, the farmhouses and stuff that people have taken and redone into a more mature, updated version. And then other people who have built homes that look like they're old, but they're not. They have all the new electrical, plumbing, all that. So that's cool. I think that's why a lot of my clients look at it, though, because of the charm, how different it looks. But also the important thing is just starting to talk about, okay, that's good. I love that you love that. And it may seem like it's a more cost-effective way to go than buying a newer home. But there are just some things to think about in your mind to make sure that you're ready for it.
Yeah, there's a lot of maintenance that could be necessary, or even big ticket items that might be coming due anytime now. But the cool thing about it is if it's a 100-year-old house, if there were going to be like a specific craftsmanship issue, that already would have happened, unless there's signs of like possible collapse of a foundation or something, there's stuff that we're going to look at here now too. But there's kind of two ways of looking at it, right? Like these things have held up for this long, that quality.
But oh my God, they've held up for this long. But when?
Yeah, but when is it going to give?
When is it not going to hold up? And I think the biggest concern I usually have with older homes is the foundation issues.
Do you want to get into like some photos of that now?
Yeah, go right ahead.
I think foundation first, or what do you want to do?
I think the only foundation one I put in there was that crack on the exterior wall, because my understanding, now I'm not a foundation, that's not my background. But I have talked to other, people who do this for a living. This one, Real Seal, this is not somebody I'm promoting. I just liked the crack, I guess.
Yeah, good crack.
So you seem to notice that on the outside or the inside of the house, whether it's jagged, or even if you're on the inside of the house and you see that in the walls near where the doorways are, or the windows.
Yes.
I think that when they're more of a vertical, it's not bad. It's when they become horizontal or they're like at a 45-degree angle that's when you need to at least have it looked at. Because it's very possible with this foundation or any foundations, if you go inside, you'll notice that they've tried to jack it up with poles. You'll see poles everywhere in the basement, or you'll see that they kind of, I don't know if the word is jerry-rigged, where you have like a wood piece and then you've got a couple of blocks underneath it holding.
Yes. And then a pole.
That's scary.
When I was just showing them, there were some of the metal poles, and those are actually functional, and you can shore up foundation and structural issues with that. But they had some old school solutions where somehow they jacked it up and they jammed in a big like log, like a round wooden post, like from way long ago. And then then now they have some of those metal house jack beams
to kind of support that.
Yeah, but it's just funny even seeing the different levels of fixes for that through the years. It's funny.
And and then it's also scary too, because the house is so old, you may have had several people that owned it before you. And you can always go to the Library of Congress and look at their website in the assessor's office and see how many people have owned it prior, just for fun, kind of going backwards. But if also the thing is a lot of those people DIY'd some things to get it good enough for now.
Right.
And I always worry about these houses when it comes to flips too, because they haven't lived there. They're just making it look pretty, which I call lipstick on a pig, because it looks pretty and shiny and the staging looks nice. But okay, the floor, I'm walking downhill, or I see a crack, along the ceiling or the wall that, just looks a little questionable. And I always say, I am not a foundation professional, but this would bother me. This would bother me if my kid were buying this house. I would want it looked at.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's a no. It means we need secondary or further inspections from a foundation company to see
it's
if
just
it's
stuff
fixable.
to look out for.
Right. And then have you ever seen the ones that well, first of all, there's a couple of different old kinds of foundation, right? There's just the brick ones that are like bricks, like regular sized bricks before they did blocks, the big cement blocks, and then they went into poured foundations and whatever they do nowadays. And then that's before rebar and all this stuff, right? But anyway, so like the old brick ones, those are really old. And then they bow. Cement blocks can too, but they start caving in. And then have you ever seen those where they put the big beams up along it and then they attach big cables out to the front yard and they dig a huge trench in the front yard and they put down a big plate and then
I have not seen that.
They crank the cables up tight and shore that wall up, and they guarantee them. I want to say for life, but maybe it's 10 years. I forget. I've done one of them. But
what does it even run to do something like that?
What is it? What does it cost?
Price wise,
I think it was like this one was like 3 or 4 years ago. This was actually on my daughter's house in Des Moines, in a great neighborhood, old cool neighborhood, Waterbury, and that's what was happening. And I think back then, and it was a small house, like 800 square foot.
Oh, okay.
This was in the basement though. But anyway, I think it was $6,000 or $7,000 then. So probably more than that. So I would guess, depending on the size and the wall and whatever is needed, at least 10 grand, I would say.
Yeah. Okay.
And we got a credit.
I just had no idea.
Yeah, and it looks great. I mean, it needs painted and stuff, but I mean, the wall's straight. It's good now. and it's guaranteed. So,
it's nice to know that you can do that with the new technology that we have. And
it was cool. They dug up the front yard and just put this thing in there, and then they put these big bars up along the wall and just sucked it up tight. It was cool.
That is neat. And I mean, then that way you can feel like, okay, my house isn't going to collapse on me, or I'm not going to fall into the depths of hell.
Or like dirt. Now that doesn't keep the water out, and they get water in their basement. So, I mean, but they can even do stuff with that. They can waterproof it all. They dig it all out and they line it. I don't know. They do all kinds of stuff. So,
and the other thing that's real popular amongst the old homes is the limestone basement.
Oh yeah.
So, that's literally rock, just kind of, that they cut into
Yes.
And if somebody wants a finished basement, this is probably not the house for them.
Yes.
Um,
They're
you
low
know,
ceilings typically. Have you seen the ones with coal chutes?
I have. Pretty
Yeah.
cool.
They
Yeah.
are cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like coal chutes, and then they've been sealed off or whatever. So that's stuff you got to look at. But yeah, they used to bring in the coal to heat the house. Did they use the coal or whatever to heat the boiler? Probably.
I think so back in the day. They
Yeah.
did. And then they had the big oil tanks too that are,
Mhm.
you always want to make sure that those are empty.
Yes.
Or double check that they're empty because they're probably going to stay there until the end of the earth's time.
Oh, I've carried one out. And
If you cut it apart and get it out, I mean, it's not like you can just lift it and take it out.
there were like 3 or 4 of us that took one out of a house in Marshalltown, and I mean, it took multiple breaks and like close. Be careful, don't break your toe or finger off. Like smash, trying to get it up these stairs. It was
Right.
crazy. Yeah,
And then half
I
the time
recommend.
the stairs, are narrow,
Yes.
or
Yes.
there's a lot of space in
Steep.
between them that you could get sucked into,
Yes.
so you got to think about that too. Whatever you're taking downstairs, are you going to be comfortable doing that? Or if your laundry's down there, are you going to
Yes.
be comfortable going up and down the stairs?
Yes.
Unless you have one of those old laundry chutes, which is kind of fun.
Yes. Those are super
Um,
fun. I used to have one in our house growing up, and we would climb in it like like a spider monkey, like
Oh
hands
my
and feet
gosh.
up and down
That's a
it.
good size.
It's funny, yeah.
For
When we were
little
little
kids,
too.
I know my husband's sister was 2 years old. They were playing hide and seek. So
Yeah.
she went into the chute but she fell through. She thought that there was a base on it, like she thought it had been
Oh,
covered up. Well, it was
uh-huh.
cardboard that was underneath it. And that's so that they weren't using it anymore for a chute.
Yeah.
For clothes. So she thought it would catch her. Well, you're 2 years
Oh,
old. You don't know. So she
yeah.
went in there and she fell through the chute onto the basement floor and broke her arm.
Oh no! Good thing it was only
So,
your
but
arm.
those chutes are cool. I mean, I point them out when we're looking at them. I'm like, oh my gosh, look, it's a clothes chute. You could put your Barbies and your Matchbox cars down this. I mean, it's
A
just
lot of
so
stuff
fun.
goes down the chute.
Probably
Yeah,
couldn't put a pair of pants down there, but you could. That's what we used it
that's
for when we
funny.
were kids.
Have you seen now? Let's go to the modern day stuff. Have you seen the ones that have a vacuum port, and you
No
open it and you just throw your clothes up there and it sucks it right down
way.
to the basement?
That sounds like what you use at the when you get your hair cut and they have the suction thing. It sucks all the hair in when they sweep it up in there. That's what it
Yes,
makes me think of.
yes. It's
I
like that.
didn't
It's
know
like a
that
whole one back.
I didn't know they made those. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, my wife's like, we need this, and I'm like, we don't need that.
No. Yes, we do.
I'm like,
Well, so
just think
some
of
of
the
the other
breaks or clothes get stuck halfway through. I'm like, no, I see headache.
right. Well, and see, some of the things with those limestone basements too is that they weep. So,
Yep.
Meaning that there could get water. Sometimes they'll be bone dry, and other times you get the puddles on the floor. That's pretty normal for limestone. So, if you're going to store stuff in the basement, you just got to make sure you put it not in cardboard, like in Rubbermaid totes, or if you have a washer and dryer down there, you have them maybe on a stilt or something so that they don't get rusted out.
Yes.
You
Sometimes I weep when dads come to the inspections, and they know all of the things that they think they know about things. And they're telling the inspector how to do it, and I'm like,
Yeah.
Then I
I
weep.
tell people don't come until after the inspection
Right.
because
30
that way
minutes,
they can walk through it, and that way they're
Mhm.
not taking 10 hours to get a home
not getting
inspection done.
distracted. That's what I tell
So,
them. Let's let them do their job.
yeah,
They'll take pictures and stuff of everything good and bad, and then we'll go through it all at the end, and you can ask all the questions you want.
exactly.
Let's not
That's
distract
going
them
to
so they
be any
miss.
house. That's going to be a new
Yes.
house or and you want to make sure too that you have an inspector that is aware and knows about how to spot asbestos tiles on the floor and the asbestos wrap and just and knows how to look at an old house
Right.
because not all home inspectors know
Yep.
how to address an old house or even what to look for because there's a lot of things to look for when it comes to inspecting an old home. So I have a couple of different inspectors that do specialize in older homes.
Yeah.
And a lot of things too, a lot of people think, oh, asbestos, I can't live there. Or
Right.
lead paint, I can't live there.
Right.
Well, and this is an asbestos tile on the outside of the
Yeah, I was
home.
gonna say, which one do you want to go to next?
Yeah.
We don't have to do this one.
No, we can. I don't even know because it's kind of like I was just talking about. That's kind of further down, but I was kind of thinking like stuff that it would be in the basement, the
Uh-huh.
foundation, and asbestos. So anything I guess to do with like
This is asbestos
Or
shingles
the
on
lead
the
base,
side
those lead
siding.
base paint, the wraps in the basement that go around the pipes. I think I had a picture of that in there too.
Okay,
It
let's
looks
look
like
at that.
it looks like a coat for the pipes, as long as they're not disturbed.
Right.
Okay, they're not taken apart, cut into. That
Or
asbestos out.
flaking off.
Right. It's when it's disturbed that's when it's going to get in your lungs and cause problems.
Yeah. Yep. So if
So if
it's
you have
sealed
stuff like
somehow
this,
or in good shape, yeah.
yeah, and same with asbestos tiles. A lot of the contractors will say, you know what, we're not going to cut it up. We're
Go
just going to
over
go
them.
over the top of
Yeah.
it with carpet or whatever it would be. We'll even it out with plywood. We'll do whatever, but we don't have to cut that up and take it out. We can
Right.
just go over the top of it. And I've checked with other, contractors too, and they're like, yeah, that's plausible when it's coming apart. Because I think there's a picture I had of a floor that was coming apart with the asbestos tiles, and those, that is something to be concerned about because it is disturbed. So that's stuff you find in the basement because they used to back in the day, not the limestone basements, but like in the 40s, 50s,
Yep.
they used to dance in their basements. They had a bar down there. They had a dance floor kind of thing, which is what this floor was.
Yeah.
And so
this is exactly what the asbestos tiles look like too. So a lot of them are this color or a weird pink or even like a brownish, light brown, red, but they all have like these checkered colors in them too.
Right. Like the black and white. And then they'll have the old bar downstairs and you're like, oh my gosh, they used to dance down here. This is where they'd have friends over and they dance,
Yep.
In some
and
of
they're
these.
about 12 by 12, right? Or are they 11 by 11 maybe?
You know what? I thought they were 12 by 12.
Yeah, that's
or somewhere around there, so you can kind of get an idea. I have a foot that's about 11. I have a size 11 foot, so I can pretty much gauge it by stepping on it.
Mine's about a foot too. That's what I use to measure.
So, but some of the other stuff to look for in that foundation when you're thinking about when you're walking in the house is the uneven floors, or if the windows won't open, or they kind of look a little sideways, or the counters are pulling away from the wall.
Yep.
Because things are moving and it's like, okay, this isn't stable anymore. Now it stays where it's at, but then,
That's what I do too. Test the windows. If you can open and close all the windows, that's a good sign.
That's a good sign.
Because
that means that the house is
foundation problems, then it's like, okay, we have.
But if you go into a house and you feel like you're on a roller coaster ride walking through the house, that would bother me. I would, and or if you're getting vertigo because you're just, and I've had that happen. I have one house I went into, I swear I was doing so much of this. I was like, oh my gosh, I felt so unsteady when I got out of that house. It was weird.
Yeah. We looked at some and then you remember some of these, a lot of them that I looked at last week. I had so much fun looking at all these old houses all over, between Ames and north of Ames and then to Ankeny about. But anyway, saw a lot of old original cast iron tubs.
Oh,
on the top floor.
Yeah,
clawfoot tubs.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had to have reinforced the floor. I mean, those are 500 pounds ish, probably, maybe more. I've also had to carry one of those inside of houses. I almost dropped one on a concrete sidewalk, but luckily it hit the grass. I don't know why it slipped out of my hands. But anyway, so in this one bathroom, the floor was so humped in the middle and then sloped down on both sides, and the tub was here and sink over here. I don't think it was the tub. I think it was just something, but same thing. You got to watch for how those floors are warping.
Yeah. And too, you kind of look for things like that. We're looking at for an average cost of a foundation repair, you're looking like $4,000 to $10,000. That's just the average. It could be more, but that's usually that. So yeah. And then the next one would be the roof. We'd be looking at a picture of the roof. If you see a deteriorating roof, missing shingles and tiles, and some of the tiles are
sunken.
Yeah, like this. Yeah, it starts to, the tiles don't lay nice, and it looks like it's.
It looked like mush right there.
Yes. And you can tell too, because even on the inside of the, where the picture is there, you can see where it's dipping down. It's
right at the bottom where the soffits and fascia are.
Yeah. That's an obvious. Sometimes you can't see it though, and especially now with snow on the roof, you can't see the roof really. So. That's tough. I don't know how the inspectors handle that. They can only see what they can see because most of them don't climb up on the roof anymore. Now they use
Right. A lot of them have drones these days, or they have a big
which is
pole
safer.
with a camera.
What's that?
I said they either use drones a lot of times, like my guy, I think, uses a drone, or actually my guys get up on it still. They have huge ladders, or they have a big pole with a camera that they just get up there and take some photos and look.
Oh, that totally makes sense too. Because I mean, some of those roofs, especially on these newer or the older homes that have all the slants to them and the beauty of the architecture, are also. I mean,
like,
I don't know how.
The ones that are like pointy, like they go up to a point and it's like round, like a vestibule. Is that what it is? And
yeah,
in a long time, like I don't know what you call that kind of roof, but they're like, I don't even know how you roof that. It's like straight up and down.
You have to move your ladder like around it.
Yeah.
You know, especially when you have those that have the curve to them, and then the roof is like slanted. Yeah, and I'm sure that those cost way more than a regular roof because I mean to replace a roof, I mean just even a regular ranch roof, you're probably looking at what, $10,000. So I can't even with these
on the low side, these days.
So I'd probably think it would be at least double to replace a roof on the unique shape.
A custom, yeah.
It's
like a custom staircase and carpets. Like they don't just they have to like wrap stuff around and tack and cut it all crazy.
Exactly. And roofs too deteriorating can lead to this picture you're showing here, which you see in the ceiling. So you should always be looking up, not just down or around. Because if there's something like that, there's something going on with the roof, or there's something in the attic that's causing that. Maybe it's not, there's a leak up there somewhere, too, which your home inspector should go up into the attic to look to see how things, and what else you find up in the attic. When you're talking about the roof stuff, you're in the attic. They're also going to they should be looking for electrical, like the knob and tube, because the knob and tube wiring that was put in, the rubber around that can actually, so that's like an old electrical panel you'd find in one of many that you'd find.
Panel. This is the panel.
The ones I'm usually concerned about, Shay, are the ones where the wires are going everywhere, and it looks like somebody went to all the wires, and they're just everywhere.
It's like spaghetti.
Right. Or they have but the knob and tubes, where I've noticed it is up in the attic because there's no wall covering them. So that could be throughout the house too. And so you can see where the knob and tube, and I've seen people take a new electrical and hook it up to the knob and tube. And I'm like, I don't know if insurance is going to be too pumped about that.
Yeah. Maybe the appraiser or
the
inspector. Yeah. Somebody's going to catch that and not like it.
And I've seen it up there where it's been cut, and that's fine. It's not hooked up to anything. It's just there.
Live, yeah.
But when it's hooked up to something, I mean, your insurance company won't always cover that, or you're going to have to pay more for that because that's a fire hazard now. Because that rubber, that galvanized rubber, whatever it's called, it can fall apart, and then of course you don't have the insulation, which can cause a fire.
Right.
So it's kind of you'll see that up in the attic. But the other things to look for would be like rot or mold, broken, missing flashing, stuff like that on the outside of the house. And
peeling paint.
What's that? Yeah, and the peeling paint.
The inside or outside.
Peeling paint. So if a house was built prior to 78, it's going to have lead-based paint in the paint. What I've been told is if it's not peeling, if it's been encapsulated with other paints over the years, which most likely it has, it's okay. It's encapsulated. But if it's looking like this, then you're going to need to get a professional in there that deals with lead-based paint to scrape all that down. And they're going to have to wear their special
suit,
everything, because they don't want to
wrap everything off. They make it, what do you call it? They create like a vacuum in the room so that stuff can't get everywhere. It's a process. Same with asbestos ceilings. Scraping, like that's not just
the popcorn ceilings, right?
But the asbestos popcorn, they also have just acoustic ceilings that they were doing in the 90s or something, or 80s. But the old stuff is the asbestos kind. And people just spray it with water and scrape it right off. It's easy.
I know,
I wouldn't do it. For me, I wouldn't do it.
You're asking for it. But that's something to look for too. And you may think, oh, that's peeling paint. I'll just scrape it off and paint it. But if there's lead in there, that's going to get into your airway, and that's going to cause problems. I mean, neurological problems. So
Is that what's wrong with me?
think you're not smart now, you're really not going to be
Yeah, so maybe I got some of that. I don't know. Oh, here, I skipped around too much, but here's some more.
Oh, no, that's okay. So like this would be like a fuse box. And so some insurance, I think Allstate still does, they'll cover fuses, but most insurance companies will not.
I didn't know that. Allstate?
That's what I heard. Now that was a few years ago in Illinois when I had a client who bought a small house. And I said, electrical, this is something you don't want to keep, but it's going to cost you a few $1,000 to get a new electrical box, to get rewired.
Yes.
So it's
could be upwards of $5,000. Just depends. And if you're doing that, you might as well get new service too. Like, so if it's a 50 amp panel or even a 100 amp panel, depending, you at least want 100, but if you're doing it, I'd get 200. Just have them run, which they have to run it from wherever the electrical pole is and run new cable because it can't handle. Sometimes it's set up for it and sometimes it's not. But if you're doing it, do it. Like, just get it all real quick.
Get it. Yeah, do it while and then what the thing is for resale, that's going to be good because our electronics, our washers, our dryers, our dishwashers, microwave, everything uses more energy than it did back in the day when they put these fuses in or had the 60 amp boxes.
Heavy duty. Yeah. I mean, on a 50 amp panel, like with 5 breakers or something, like I've owned houses like that in like San Diego. And it's like, if you put the toaster on in like a space heater or something, or the hair dryer and a space, two like kind of
flips the breaker.
Oh, like that.
Yeah.
I was living in a camper outside of Granddad's house, which we ended up buying that later, but my wife's grandfather's house, and I would have on a space heater so I didn't have to run the propane. This is where a small part of time where I was living in San Diego. We bought another house in Vegas. My wife moved back there. And I was kind of going back and forth. And we decided not Vegas, stay in San Diego. We do a lot of that stuff. But Granddad would get so mad. He just told me I couldn't run the heater anymore. Because every time I did it, or I'd have it on and then he'd cook toast or something and boom. So he's like, you can't do that anymore. I'm like, okay. So
gosh, he's got the heater on again.
Well, he was mad. And I was like, okay, so I just had to keep getting propane and running propane. It's just funny. Yeah, so might as well update those. Exactly. This is kind of a cool this is a crazy combination. We got cast iron, we have PVC, and we have PEX.
Yep, got a combination. And I saw this because of the piping, because there's certain times, depending on the house that you're looking at, there's back in the day, because like 1900s is when they started doing the knob and tube. Cast iron sewer lines were pretty popular in the 50s, but they can corrode or crack. So I guess you just have to look at them and see if they're starting to rust or starting to, but again, we're not inspectors, but it's just things to look at and say, okay, could this cost me some money? Because like you said, they've got PVC in there for the water, but look at the ceiling. I'm like, that just doesn't, I don't know.
Yeah, this has a lot going on. They have good. You see this yellow foam? That's like great stuff that they foam sprayed up there to stop a leak of some sort.
Yep.
Gosh, it's got a little bit of everything. This is
I thought it was a good picture because it tells a lot of stories.
Yeah, I mean,
people start combining the old with the new, I get nervous.
Yeah.
I get very nervous because I'm like, okay.
Let's go into the next.
Did you watch YouTube?
With that is Orangeburg. Talk about that because a lot of people might not know what Orangeburg is.
Oh, yeah, Orangeburg. So this is an Orangeburg pipe. And it's basically back in the day, back in World War II era, they started using this because they were using steel and metal. Everything had to go towards the war effort to make guns and airplanes and things like that. So this is basically made out of wood pulp and tar. And as you know, if you were to put paper together with water, after a period of time, it's going to wear through, right? This is supposed to last anywhere from 25 to 50 years underground as a sewer pipe. Right. However, it's going to break down because you have water and sewage and, everything going through it. It's going to break down.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's like super heavy duty cardboard.
Yeah, exactly. And it's got tar. So they're probably like, it's got tar on it. It'll be just fine. Well, so what I tell my clients now is to always have a sewer scope done.
Yes.
So, and then what happens is when they do that sewer scope, they actually give you a thumb drive that you can watch the scope, so you can see what your sewer line is looking like. So you know what your
roots haven't penetrated and
and if there's anything blocking it too, like if tree roots have grown into it, if it's starting to leak. One we discovered during a sewer scope, it had broken apart, and it was literally, and so sewer was just coming out of the, into the ground.
Yeah.
And so the seller had to fix that. I mean, I don't even know what it cost him, because my buyer's like, nope, I'm out of here. That's
an easy $5,000 to $7,000 just from the house to the street upgrade.
Yeah. And they don't have to necessarily dig up the ground anymore. They can actually, as long as the pipe is intact, they can actually go through with a smaller pipe, or not just a little bit smaller, and go right through it to it inside the pipe, so that they don't have to dig up the ground. But there are times when they have to. If it's broken, then you can't. Or if it's disintegrated, that's not going to be an option. Yep. And I had one quote for like $20,000, because from where it went from the curb to the street, you had to go down another 12 foot. So
I've heard that too.
So you just never know. A sewer scope will be the best money, besides your home inspection, obviously, that you'll ever spend, because you don't want to inherit that problem.
No way. Yeah. And then they have different kinds of clay, cast iron, and Orangeburg I've never heard of until I got here in the Midwest.
Until I got to Iowa. I'm like, and that's actually named after the company that put it together in New York, Orangeburg, New York. Okay. So that's where it came from. But they shut down. See, I learned a lot. So just by researching, but
I was a unique bird when it comes to real estate. I've done a lot of real estate in a lot of different places.
I tell people, I'm like, okay, home inspection, pest inspection, radon inspection,
radon. Yeah. Old houses don't have radon systems usually. So that's something else.
No, they do. And that's another thing. It's like, well, how are they going to get it in there to where it'll make sense to be able to get it out of the house? And so it's always a good idea. And even houses that are slabs can have radon. I mean, everybody has radon. It's just the levels are so.
Right. But especially in the basement, the further you get in the ground.
And then this is an old system. You can see where it's a boiler system. So you can see it almost looks like, I don't know, it looks like something out of a Charlie and the Chocolate Factory kind of movie, because of all this is a little old and a little new combo too, because it is water heaters.
Boilers are giant cast iron tanks,
right? That look like an octopus. I mean, I've seen.
Yeah.
This one's actually a smaller, and a lot of them, they still work just fine. But it's always a good idea to have an HVAC person take a look at them and make sure that they're not becoming an issue where they're, but it can be expensive to fix them too. But I've known people who've put new boilers in, like they love the even heat of the boiler. So it's not the boilers are bad. It's just, you just have to have them looked at to make sure they're still safe.
I've even had boiler / geothermal systems in houses I've owned. And
well, that makes sense. I mean, why wouldn't you? It's already water heat.
Yep. And then you run tubing through the cement floors, which this particular house that I had in Marshalltown had them on the main floor and the basement floor. Now, these particular ones didn't work because they ran the wrong PEX pipe through it. And so the pipes corroded. So that's another thing that maybe a lot of people wouldn't know. You have to make sure you have the correct kind of pipes that will run coolant, because it runs coolant through that, not water, for the floor heating. And so it corroded all of the PEX pipes. So you would have to rip out all of the floor, dig up the concrete, everything unless they could sleeve it like they do the pipes, but it's so tiny, I don't think they would.
Yeah, I mean,
the boiler was a modern day boiler. It had actually several. It was a 5,200. It was a pretty big house. And then the geothermal altogether, that's how they do the geothermals. It's a little combo for both.
That's pretty cool. That's actually
they still have the blowers too. So it's a combination of all kinds of the HVAC systems.
Well, so like with the plumbing stuff, because of course you're going to want someone to take a look at that. And is your low water pressure, discolored water coming out of the pipes. Like if you turn the water on, if it is on, leaks beneath and around the faucet, slow water drainage, those kind of things. This can kind of think that maybe there might be a problem. This is a picture of, I just loved how much light comes in. I think that's what a lot of people like about older homes is the wood trim, the wood baseboards, the built-ins. I just thought that was a beautiful picture of built-ins because I love built-ins. I think they are so smart, and it's utilizing every bit of space, which I think is kind of cool about older homes, is that they're using
all the woodwork and all that. I'm going to stop sharing for now. We're actually running to the end of the
We are.
So look how fast it goes. Isn't that funny?
It goes way too fast. And that was pretty much all, I wanted to, it's basically looking too, a lot of these older houses have the plaster walls. So you have to have someone who knows about plaster that can do that kind of work. So that's another thing to think about as another specialist, if you want to do something with the walls. And then looking at what kind of, I guess, what's behind those walls in case you want to take a wall out or move a room. Because back in the day, they made all the older homes, they have smaller rooms.
Yeah,
because they had an issue with heat, trying to get all the heat to go. So there's just so much. And then 2-prong outlets, you have to look at that.
No grounding.
That's going to be an electrical update right there.
Yeah,
so I think someone who's going to buy a house, an older house, should be looking at, do I have the money to take care of this house? Yeah. And do I have money to fix things before they become a problem, or if they are already a problem? They're just going to have extra money. It might be less expensive on the front side, but not so much on the next side.
Right. It's kind of like an old used car, right? Like they're cool. They're simpler in a lot of ways. They're maybe heavier duty or better quality, but they're things that they're old. Parts will wear out. Things will wear out. So then you're going to have to replace that. So you're right. It's a different way to think about it. And you want your real estate professional to help consult you and guide you through pros, cons, what to expect, all that, which I know you're great at doing that.
I always tell my clients, I look at it like my kids buying the house. And so I'm very, and I said, I'm not going to treat you like you're my kid, but I will tell you if it's something that would bother me as a mom with my kid buying it, I'm going to tell you what I think,
Yeah, of course. It's like, hey, this is something to be aware of. And this is my opinion. And based on like a bunch of houses I've sold or situations I've been in, this is why I recommend this. This is why I recommend that.
And then have the profession know that there are things that you could prefer, people you could refer them to that could give them the sound advice they need to know if they need to move forward or not.
Right. And like get estimates. So that's what we do is we go through and like, okay, here are the issues. Here are the things. Here are estimated, what it could cost or, maybe down the road to be prepared for and this. And then is that within the scope of what you can afford? And if this emergency or this happens, like, oh, this is great. But if it crashes later, then are you going to be able to handle it? Is that a risk you want to do? And then they can make a good decision on, is this something I want to move forward with or not?
And that's only going to come back to you tenfold, because when you look out for your client, you're not money focused on what money you're going to make by them buying the house. You're looking at, okay, this person, I'm treating them as if, I'm treating them like I would my own child, like as far as just looking out for them. And I always tell them, I don't have to sell you a home in order to feed my kids or make my house payment. Yes, I like to get paid at closing, but it's not my primary motive or focus. I said, what my primary motive or focus is that you're going to love me so much that you're going to refer me to your friends and family because of the way I treated you. I said, that's my ulterior motive. I'm 100% that's what I want. So I just want you to be happy as a clam, which is a pretty happy person, when you buy a house with me. I mean, whether you're a senior citizen selling for the 10th time or you're a first-time home buyer, you matter. And if I know, and if I don't know, I'll find out. So
yeah, and I know that about you. I know, and we even talked about it that we both come from from the place of service. We're giving them service-based, and we're trying to make sure that they're making good decisions for them and giving them the fiduciary care that we're legally bound to do. And by doing so, I always tell when I'm coaching my agents and stuff that you have to really want to help people succeed and come from a place of helping, and then you get paid as a bonus. And if you take care of people and really just want to help people achieve their goals or achieve financial wealth down the road and stuff with this purchase, and just help them above all things, and then the money will come for sure.
I totally agree.
You should care for people.
I think, and you really got to love what you do. And I feel like when you work with an agent that is focused on service and not how much money they're going to make or how many houses they have to sell as a goal for the month. You're going to be so much better off. And believe me, I have had agents I've worked with that I'm like, no, we're,
deal pushers are not what we are. We're here to help you. And that's it. So even if it's to say, hey, this isn't a good time to buy, or you decide, that's why I tell them, I'm like, if you decide this isn't for you anymore, then that's fine. Like, you can change your mind at any point if we don't find the situation that's right for you.
Exactly.
Okay.
All right. Awesome. My gosh, that was fun.
Oh, it's super fun. By the way, we have people chiming in here. Some great people around Cedar Rapids. Chad Lautner is talking about limestone, and Mario Ruiz, who's an awesome tattoo guy. He says this is awesome. Chad, that is also my neighbor, the guy that is commenting too. He said, great tips on older house purchase. So thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate you all being on the show. Michelle, it's been a pleasure. Looking forward to lunch sometime again soon.
Absolutely. And, you're on.
Hope you have a great day. Anything I can ever do for you, please let me know. And that goes to you, Michelle, and also everybody out there watching. You can give me a call, a text anytime. I'm really easy to reach. And I'm sure, Michelle, you are too. And
I am. This is my 24/7 job. This is not a hobby for me. And I know it's not for Shay either. Right. So we take this seriously. We love what we do. We love our people. And we just want to make this world a little bit better place than the way we found it. So. Yes.
Thank you. And so her contact information is at the bottom. You've probably seen it scrolling. So text her, call her with anything you need. And what I also tell people, and I always just, I should ask first, but are you cool with real estate agents reaching out to you to learn more about any of these topics?
Sure.
Do you help other real estate agents?
Absolutely. I love to help. And, what comes around goes around. So there's times I need help too. And it's nice that someone takes the time with me to help me if I have a question or a concern. So if I can teach someone something and help somebody with something, real estate related or otherwise.
Yep. That's exactly I am happy what to help. So, coming from abundance.
For a nonprofit, I work with several of those too, but that's another day.
Me too, but that's great. We'll cover that stuff. That would be another good show, maybe.
That would be another good show. Yeah. I have several that I work with that I just love and am very passionate about, but we can do that another time. So if you want to call me and ask me about those, if you want to get more involved in your community, I do have some ideas for you.
Yeah, that will be actually an excellent show. So we'll do one on how to be involved in your community, not only as a real estate agent, but in your community.
Yeah, and that could be several people on the same, that we could chime in and say, hey, I'm aware of this, or hey, I'm aware of this, or they're needing help over here. I think that would be so wonderful for not just realtors, but for the public.
Agree. Totally agree.
There you go.
All right.
I got your idea for the show.
Yeah, we already teed up the round 2, the sequel.
All right.
Okay, we'll play a little music and say goodbye to everybody. Thanks you all for coming. We'll see you on the next show every Tuesday at 11 o'clock. We talk with an expert in a city near you. You never know where it's going to be. Sometimes it's Vegas, sometimes Denver. You never know. So thank you all. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.